Hi, my name is Madison. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I currently go to Florida State University. My dad had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in his 30s, but it was way before I was born, so I wasn't very familiar with it, but I knew it had happened. And then when I was a freshman in high school, I noticed a swollen lymph node in my neck in class, and I had kind of texted my mom a picture of it, and it was kind of just like, okay, we'll keep an eye on it. And then about 5 months later, I noticed the lump was a bit larger, and it started to kind of hurt. It was getting strained. So that's when we kind of had went to the doctor and stuff. Now looking back on it, I was a bit fatigued a lot of the time, but I was also in high school, so I hadn't thought of it as like a symptom at the time. With pediatrics, it's kind of like a really rapid pace, I feel like, compared to a lot of other cancers people would have. So I remember it was Monday. I got my blood work done. They told me to get an ultrasound. So me and my mom had done that, and then the ultrasound had shown up concerning. So then that Wednesday, they sent me in for a CT scan. And then literally I think my CT was at like 1, and then at 5 they had called. But I was really in shock about everything. Like, it was kind of in the back of my mind. Like, I assumed that's what they were checking, but nobody had really told me that. So I was kind of in shock about it. Like, I didn't realize this was like something actually concerning. The first time I ever went to the doctor about it, like a few months before, the lady was kind of like laughing at me, like, people overreact about swollen lymph nodes all the time. Like, you could have mono, it could be a cyst, like all this other stuff. So we never thought it was concerning until it started to hurt. It was during COVID-19, so I was actually about to go to a drive-by birthday party. So I was like in my living room making posters, and they called my mom, and then my mom had to come and tell me. And then like my dad had to come home from work, and then it was like right then and there. It was like they called her, they told her the news, and it was like we had to go to the emergency room right away. So my poster making kind of stopped, and then we had to pack up, and then I was in the hospital for like 4 days. So it's very chaotic. I wasn't really expecting that, so it took me aback for a little bit. And then I remember I texted like two of my best friends. Again, I was like 15 at the time, so it was I was old enough to understand what was happening, but it was like, I don't know, I was in a weird waters with it. And then my little brother, we were all just kind of like crying in shock about it. It was very like, I was trying to digest it. Like, I was like, no way, this is about to be my life for a little bit. But yeah, I was very. And then my dad had gone through it, like I said, so it was hard on my family in the beginning for sure. When we went to the hospital, I really liked my oncologist. They said right when they looked at the CT scan, they kind of knew what it was, that it was Hodgkin's lymphoma. I ended up doing a PET scan, and before my results had come in, they had kind of talked to me through ABVD treatment. So we had done like I don't know, I signed all the papers. I was like, they had listed all the side effects to me. My oncologist explained it all. And then the day my PET scan came back, it was like stage 2, 3. They couldn't really tell. So literally like my first day of chemo, I think, was the next day, and we switched it to ABVEPC because they wanted a stronger one in case it was 3. So again, it was like, it's very like fast paced. I feel like with pediatrics, it was like kind of, you got to take it day by day. But they had told me my first day of chemo, I was getting ABVEPC, and then I had to do 4 cycles of that, and it was 28 days each cycle, and then I had to do radiation therapy after. I would get the first 4 days, I would get infusions, and then on day 8, and then it was like recovery. Well, my first day of chemo was really rough for me. When I got to the 3rd chemotherapy, etoposide, I had an allergic reaction to it, and I went like anaphylactic. They had to come in and like put a lot of Benadryl and stuff. But I was knocked out for like the rest of the day. I was like passing out. It was really scary for my family. But then it kind of scared me for the rest of chemo. By day 2, that wasn't happening. So it was fine, but it definitely put like a little more stress on me with it. My side effects, the first 4 days, I would get really bad nausea, and then that was kind of it. And then day 8, I would get really bad bone pain. Yeah, they ended up saying it was like a mixture of 2 of the medicines I was getting day 1, because all 4 cycles, it was like just day 1, I would have a reaction to it, and then every other day it was fine. So it was weird, but that definitely made chemotherapy a lot harder and more stressful on me for sure. But besides that, my symptoms were like manageable, or the side effects of chemo. Going into chemotherapy, I knew that I was going to lose my hair, but when I started, that was kind of like that's the least of my worries at this point. So like when the doctor had told me, like it was like, oh, like I assumed that was gonna happen. And then once it started happening, it was like way bigger deal than I had kind of thought. I would always read like that's the hardest part of going through treatment and stuff, and I was like, what? Like that it's just hair, until I was having to cut it. Like I was like, it's not just hair. So I had cut it to my shoulders before I started chemo, and then so it wasn't like as drastic falling out. I have really long hair, so and then once it started falling out, that was like that was really, really difficult for me. Especially having to cut it. I made a like halo, like I got a wig of my actual hair, so we chopped it like straight from my shoulders to my head. But yeah, that was probably besides my first day allergic reaction, I would say that was my hardest day. Going through treatment, I felt like it was such a big change. Like you don't look like yourself. And then just throughout treatment, it did affect me a lot. Just, yeah, like looking in the mirror and like feeling like I was unrecognizable. Like, I don't know. I would wear my head wraps to school and stuff. I would cover it, but like people would make comments at school, or like even comment on like social media stuff. So it was difficult, and I was definitely more insecure about it. Like I wore my head wraps a lot, but yeah, it definitely like you feel like a loss of identity, because not only are you not feeling good, you're not feeling like yourself, but then like to have to look in the mirror and not really see yourself either was really difficult for me, especially at such a young age. There's the normal type of radiation therapy, and then there's like proton therapy. I don't, my doctor had explained it, but they like target the cells differently. So that was definitely a lot easier for me than how chemotherapy had went for me. I definitely experienced nausea towards the end, and then like my skin was kind of burning. But yeah, I don't know. One thing to point out with radiation that I don't know. I always thought you could like feel it, or like I was really scared about it. I don't know why, but I don't know. That was a lot easier for me than chemo was. You just kind of lay there for 5-10 minutes. They play a playlist that you want. I did have to have a mask because it was targeting my neck, so that was the one thing that kind of bothered me, getting like bolted into the table. But it was, I mean, it was only like 10 minutes, so it was kind of get through it, and I would listen to my Taylor Swift music. It was COVID. Schools had gotten shut down in March, and then we were doing online. And then I got diagnosed at like towards the end of April, so it was only like a month left of school. So they kind of waived me and just like took my grades as how they were. Through the summer, it was really difficult because you're already like neutropenic, like I was already immunocompromised. So I couldn't really see any of my friends and stuff. If I did do stuff with them, we would like sit on my porch outside with like masks on. But that was always really difficult for me because, I mean, time doesn't stop for everybody else. So all my friends were going to the beach. All my friends were always hanging out. And then I was kind of like alone at my house sick. So that was really hard on me. And then again, like everyone else is 15 at the time. So people don't reach out, or like only a few friends had kind of stayed and talked to me. So again, that was like really difficult for me at the time. Um, I started school back up in August, and I did go back face to face. I would wear a mask, and then I would actually literally go straight from school to radiation, and then I would go to cheer practice, but I couldn't do anything yet. But I would go and sit and watch. So that was kind of a lot for me, but I just wanted to like be doing stuff after sitting in my house for like 4 months. But yeah, it was a lot in the beginning for sure. And then it was just scary because like not only was I having to worry about normal like sicknesses I could get, but now it was like my parents were very scared about corona. In the beginning especially, I didn't have a very good like mindset on it. Because I was so young, like I was thinking the worst case possibility. It was very like, why me? Like again, especially with all my friends, like everyone else was having all this fun, and it was like, why does this have to happen to me? Of course it has to happen to me. It took a big impact on my mental health in the beginning for sure. My mom was very good about it. Me and my mom grew like so close, and then now she's still like my best friend, but I definitely like leaned a lot on my family. And then after about halfway through treatment, once I got a PET scan halfway through to see if my treatment was working. That kind of boosted my mental health a lot because now I knew like it's okay, it's going to be okay and stuff. So then I kind of had more of a positive outlook on everything. I definitely, my faith grew a lot. Like I said, I got a lot closer with my family, but it was definitely really hard. And it's still something that, like, through the rest of high school, like, I was going to high school bald. It was very, it changed a lot of things for me for sure. I was having to worry about things that no one else was having to worry about. Well, people were worrying about a test. I was having to worry about radiation after school. So it was like, I don't know, it was very difficult for me at such a young age. When I had done my PET scan halfway through treatment, they actually had said by then I was like NED, yeah, then no evidence of disease, but you still have to finish going through all the courses. So I had 2 more cycles after, and then I did the radiation because of I had like a bulk mass. My family will always say like I'm cancer free. I mean, the technical words, I'm still in remission until next year, my 5th year. But yeah. And then I went every 3 months for a while to get blood work and scans, and then 6 months, and then now I'm at once a year, so that's good. But yeah, I definitely, especially in the beginning, it was really hard for me too because I felt like my whole world would stop right when it was like scan week. And I would be like so anxious. Same thing, like everyone's like, oh, we have an exam, and I'm like, I have scans. So that was hard for me in the beginning. I would always tell my mom that too, like now the rest of my life I'm gonna have to worry about this. My mom's like, you can move on from it. Like your dad doesn't think about his scan, like your dad doesn't sit and stress that this is gonna come back. Like you need to live. Going to college, it was like so weird to me, like having to tell my friends, or like it would come up in conversation. I'd be like, oh yeah, by the way, um, or yeah, and people would see pictures and be like, wait, like I didn't realize like you were bald. Um, so that was always weird to me in the beginning. It's definitely something that I can move on from in a sense, but it's like it'll always be with me. I'm very big on like advocating for people now. I know at the time, like talking to people who had gone through it or were going through it was like super big for me. So once I finished treatment, it was like I want to help people who are going through it right now. Um, so I do always try to do that. My family will do like fundraisers for different organizations. Um, Stuff like that. So I don't just try to like brush it off and like completely put it in the past. Like I think I have to pay it forward and help people who are going through it right now. But with that being said, I do have a completely normal life now. Like I said, I only get scans once a year. So it's kind of when I come home from school in the summer, like I'm going to school for nursing now. I'm in a sorority. I have a lot of fun at school. I have a lot of friends. So I still am, I was able to like move on from it. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to be able to. And my mom's always like, it's going to be okay. Like you'll hit a point and you're not going to think about it anymore. And I definitely don't. Like I don't sit on a daily basis and stress that it's going to come back or think about it. So yeah, I was able to move on from it a lot, but it's still definitely always there and with you, and it teaches you a lot of things that I do live by day, or like I do take with me moving forward from it. I was always like really into like Grey's Anatomy and stuff. So I was like, oh, I want to be a surgeon or a doctor. And then once I was sick, that really was funny when I was sick though, because I knew all the scans I was getting. My hospital was a teaching hospital, so they'd always be like, "Can the interns come in?" I was like, "Yes." Like, but once I went through treatment and I kind of saw how much like nurses actually do that I didn't realize, it kind of made me want to be a nurse. I had my nurse practitioner on my floor. I became really close with, and she was always kind of hyping it up for me. So that's what I want to do eventually, but I just felt like I saw how much like bedside wise that nurses do, and like I'm super close with my doctor. I love my doctor, but I liked that they were with me when I was going through treatment, when I was getting chemo. So that was kind of a big thing for me. And then again, like I've had good nurses, I've had nurses that I didn't like as much. So it kind of motivates me to be a good nurse in the future. And then like I know what I would want as the patient. So I don't know, I feel like it kind of helps in a way. But yeah, I want to pay it forward. My cousin just got diagnosed with Hodgkin, so I've been giving her all my like tips and tricks. Um, One thing I would say going through treatment is always advocate for yourself. By cycle 4, my last day of chemo, I would get really bad bone pain, and I ended up getting a fever. And when I went to the doctor, I was complaining to my mom, kind of my bone pain, my legs, and my doctor was like, "You should never be in pain. Like, always tell us, and we can give you medicine. We can tell you to take Tylenol." And by then, it was like, well, now I'm on cycle 4, and I've been dealing with this. So that's something I would always say. Like, there is always stuff to help you if you're nauseous. Tell somebody, because they can give you medicine. If you're in pain, tell somebody. There's medicine for it. So that's something I would always say, because I would kind of just like try to suck it up, and you don't have to do that. There's always stuff to help. And then just like an overall thing after treatment is really difficult, but everybody goes through it. There is a light, there is hope in the future. Right after treatment, especially, I feel like is really difficult mentally, but it really does get better. You get used to your new normal. And yeah, I would just say that it is a big, I would say like it's a big glitch in the road for me, and it did like shape who I am today, but I was able to move on from it, and it isn't my whole entire life now. I have a normal life and I do normal things. So it's definitely like something that you can move past and you can get past.